Grand Rising and welcome to New Mind, where our intention is clear and is to share information for transformation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making time to tune in wherever you may be, from wherever part of the world. I really appreciate you being here, and it really means a lot. I was actually doing a quick recap and an audit on our audience, and we have audiences from all around the world, and I'm so grateful to that. You know, people from the US to Dubai, to Europe, to South America, to Australia, and it's really an absolute pleasure. And I just want to honor you, whoever is tuning in today. Let me start by wishing you a happy new year. And may this year really bring you all that your heart desires and more. And this is the topic of today, is how to make 2026 your best year yet, and not really slip back to any old default settings. My intention with this episode is really to give you some concrete steps, some concrete insights that's going to really move you away from this old way of paradigm of motivation, because that is not sustainable, and really to become more effective and have what we call consistency in making sure you achieve all that you want to achieve this year. You see, because most people fail not because of lack of discipline. And that's what people say, right? They actually fail because they return to what we call the default setting. And I want you to understand that the default setting is the same identity. It's the same emotional patterns. It's the same nervous system capacity that you hold. It's the same self-image. So in today's podcast, I really want to talk about what actually sustains that energy, that focus, that momentum, that really goes beyond motivation, and that really helps us to create real change. Not in just, this January motivation month, this enthusiasm that most people have. Because the real way we do things is doing it from the fundamentals, from the foundations. Because honestly speaking, as I always share with you guys, it's all about your inner world that needs to change first. Then your outer world will follow. And this is why most goals fail. It's because, again, people go with the sense of motivation. They have this sense of, I'm going to be disciplined, and they have the positive mindset, and they write down the vision board and everything else. And the truth is, most people don't rise to their goals. They will always fall back to the level of the self-image, the belief, the nervous system, the beliefs they have, and how they regulate their nervous system and the capacity that they can hold. So this is, again, a really deep conversation with you guys as we kick off this new year. I want you to grab a pen and paper if you have, because I want to be systematic with you. I want to share with you guys some insights that is all about how do I become more efficient in actually creating and achieving the goals that I set forth for myself. And understanding that those updates, the body and mind, will always pull you back to what's familiar, even if it's painful. And I see this day in and day out with my clients. They are in the comfort zone, and that comfort zone is painful, but they want change, but they just always go back to the default setting. So first point we want to discuss in today's podcast is about updating your self-image. You see, when I say updating your self-image, think about it this way. Your self-image is the thermostat of your life. It literally dictates what you feel. It dictates what feels normal to you, what's possible and what's safe. And you can't outperform how you see yourself. So here's a question I want you to start by asking yourself. Write this down if you need. Who do I believe I am? What do I expect from myself? These are important questions, guys. Because if you understand who do you believe you are, that's already giving you a reflection of that internal self-image, just between you and yourself, right? What level of success feels normal to my nervous system? When does it feel uncomfortable? What number, what figure, what image, what vision does it feel out of place for you? Too much. See, so to make 2026 different, you must let go of the old identity. And I'm not talking about changing all of you, but changing the parts of you that is holding you back in the old timeline. The version of you that's survived, the version of you that coped, the version of you that stayed small to stay safe, This isn't about becoming someone fake. I'm not saying that, guys. It truly is about returning to who you already are underneath the conditioning. So underneath your conditioning, that's where everything begins. It's the true identity. It's the authentic self. It's away from all the noise, all the limited perceptions, right? So when my line of work, when someone is really looking to create change, I always start by telling them, we have to take a closer look of your internal perception, how you think about yourself, what your belief system is. What do you believe about yourself? Because beliefs is what shapes perception. Perception shapes behavior, and behavior creates results, right? So this is important. If you don't update your beliefs, you will constantly interpret the opportunity as a threat. Because any opportunity that's outside of your comfort zone, any opportunity that comes in your reality, in your life, you will unconsciously perceive it as a threat. Your nervous system won't accept it. Growth becomes a moment of pressure. Expansion becomes a risk to you. This is why I always say, mindset work isn't positive thinking, guys. It's perception. It's recalibration. So, again, what do you believe about your efforts? What do you believe about money, about time? What do you believe you are capable of achieving? What are you allowed to have this year, right? The reality will always obey your deepest assumptions. And this is why it's super important to have time to challenge those internal dialogues and reflect. Reflect is where am I? Because it starts with you. It starts what you believe you're capable of achieving. So that's a very big and important component to achieving your goals, whatever goals you set yourself to achieve this year, right? So ask yourself, what do I stand, and repeat on those questions that I just mentioned. Reflect on them. Now, the second important point, and this is something that most people forget, is aligning your values with what you want. You see, your top 5 values, the values that you've been conditioned in your life, that you value in your life, they determine most of your decision-making process. They determine what you get pulled to. They determine where you focus your attention and energy. And many people chase goals that aren't aligned with their values. That's what we talk about when we say that the internal resistance that happen. The internal resistance is because they're misaligned with their values. If you say, for example, you want freedom, but value security more, you'll sabotage. This is something I've noticed a lot with my own journey, in my past journey, when I wanted freedom and I had this resistance and the self-sabotage. I wanted freedom, but I was also wanting the sense of security in my job, my 9-to-5 job. Well, how does that work? So you have to see what you value more. Do you want freedom? Where does that rank in your values? Living a life of freedom versus a sense of certainty and security, right? Because if sense of certainty and security is the top 5 values and your value of freedom is number 6 or 7, but you think that's what you want, but it's not really within the core conditioning, good luck. If you are someone that says you want growth, but you value your comfort, then same thing. You will stall. So for me, when I say that's the importance of getting into alignment, and I use this in my work, that's why it's a big component in the deep work, which is understanding that your values need to match your goals, or your goals need to match your values. Your actions will reflect what matters. Your nervous system actually feels congruent, not conflicted. That's how you know. That's how you know with the let's just say the ease and flow that comes with aligning your values with your goals. Because when values align and goals align, energy becomes available. I remember this, my mentor always used to say, when your values align with your goals, energy, all of a sudden you have more space, you have more energy to become, it's a bit more effortless. That's the default setting I'm talking about. It's more effortless to achieve the goals that you seek to achieve, especially when they align with your values. So this is something that most people overlook. They want to achieve goals, but their values are not aligned with it. So a very big point that I'm bringing to your attention, or a pillar in this work and for you for this year, is check with yourself. Are my values aligned with the goals that I want to achieve? And moving into another pillar, I will call it a pillar because it's a domain on its own, but also very, very important for us to achieve and sustain and maintain our goals that we want to achieve this year, the dreams, the visions, whatever that is making sure that you don't have any negative emotions that is lingering in your nervous system. And why I say that is because negative emotions, especially from things in the past, you will always be a slave to that. And the emotions, which is energy and motion, will influence your state, will influence the quality of your thinking. And unfortunately, you will never be able to think greater than you feel. So making sure that there's no unprocessed emotions in the body. This is what I do with one of the therapies that I apply in my practice. Super important, because that will give you more energy. It won't consume your mental energy. It doesn't narrow your perception. When you have that emotions, fear or resentment or anger or frustration, or especially fear is a big one, it narrows your perception, and also it collapses your confidence. So the idea is to not fall back to the old patterns, and old patterns are a mix of emotions. That's what emotions are. They fuel those patterns. They fuel the way of being, thinking, and feeling. And this is why people know what to do, but don't do it. You see, processing emotions is not weakness, it's liberation. Especially for the men out there. We think, and we've been conditioned, that processing emotion or feeling with it or dealing with it is weakness. It's not. Fear, guilt, shame, resentment, grief, when left unprocessed, when left not dealt with and suppressed, really, guys, they become invincible breaks. And this is what you don't want to carry into the new year. 2026 truly requires emotional resilience, but also emotional intelligence, liberation. Nervous system needs to feel safe. There needs to be internal space. And you will never, honestly guys, you will never manifest from thought. You have to manifest from a full, congruent state of being. Emotionally, mentally, and your nervous system needs to be supporting that. And one area we can add to another pillar. I'm going with pillars, as you can see in this conversations, or points. That's why I said bring a pen and paper, because I'm giving you guys a bit of a data dump today. But this is important to guide you through this year. Is that if there's one practice and one thing that you it can definitely improve, let's just say, your achievement of goals and visions this year, is the ability to learn how to regulate and expand the nervous system. Because the thing is, your nervous system literally decides what you can hold. More success equals more sensation, responsibility, visibility, right? Think about it. Money, all of that, leadership, intensity, all of that. If your nervous system can't regulate that, it will self-protect by shrinking and going back into that closing space and shrinking your life. So practices that truly matter, that really move the needle, that really, and I'm speaking my own personal experience, guys, and of course with all the clients and the hundreds of clients I've worked with, just thinking about 2025 alone, everyone that I got them after we did the inner work and the alignment, giving them the skill set to practice, understanding what it means to practice breath work, what it means to sit in stillness, how to do that, how to regulate your nervous system, what rituals do you add in your day, How do you truly recover? Because as I said, expansion isn't the old paradigm of hustle and push and kill, and it's actually all about capacity. It's all about how you are able to be grounded, how you're able to elevate and take in more without feeling the tension, without feeling the stress, without going back to, the old ways of being. And that's why the nervous system element, in combination with everything else I spoke about, is truly, truly important. So if we learn these practices, and I said this before, and I've had a couple of you guys who reached out, and I was happy to DM them some of the, content that I have, my resources that I share with my clients. I'm more than happy to share that with you guys. I'm more than happy to provide that, to just interact, engage with me, send me a message, and I'll share with you the guided experiences and get you guys activated. But I'm only going to share this for those who are serious, who actually make an effort to request them. I'm not going to give that out for free, So now, as we talk about these pillars, these important components or domains that can support you in achieving whatever you set out to achieve this year, this is the fundamentals, this is the foundations, this is the work. Now, one area I'm sure you've heard me speak about before, unless you're new to the channel, is a very important element of the ability to also understand that whatever you are seeking needs to be in alignment with the heart. So when I say that, it's not like a spiritual aspect. It's actually the heart is that essence. It's the depth of who you are, the courage, the guidance, the one that's telling you all the time if this feels right for you or not. Because sometimes we want things, but they're not really true in alignment with our heart. It's not a heartfelt intention. So if we understand that we can focus on the heart, there's practices that allow us to connect with our heart. There's the wisdom of the heart. There's a heart intelligence. A lot of people don't know that the heart has its own mind. It has its own neurons. It has its own memory. And when we understand that we have practices that connect us with our heart, like brain and heart coherence practices, then the decisions we make isn't coming from the monkey mind. It comes from the heart. It's not comes out of fear or lack, but it comes from a place of truth. And, goals don't become ego-driven. They rather become goals that are more, should I say, truthful, more impactful, more fulfilling, because heart coherence with practice creates clarity, it creates emotional regulation, it gives you that intuitive decision-making that we all sometimes lack, which is, okay, because of the amount of data and information we're bombarded with, that we don't make time for the heart. And we need to be more discerned. We need to be more intuitive with that connection. And that gives us that sustainable drive. And to me, this is alignment at the deeper level, where honestly, guys, effort softens and the direction sharpens, because you start to have this intuitiveness that what you're doing is in alignment of the authentic self, of your truth. So making time for that, and there's our practices I also coach at my practice of how does that work, what does that look like. That is super, super important to activate the heart center, activate the connection with yourself, because that's an intelligence. Again, guys, the heart has its own brain, has its own mind, has its own intelligence. And we need to get access to that and not only focus on this noggin. So now we're going to move into another pillar that I'd love to share with you guys. And I'm actually super excited because I'm busy building right now as we speak. I'm finalizing some of the deck that I'm presenting and working with the men at the Unshakable workshop at the end of this month in Dubai. It's our second one. And it's all about teaching them the formula of how to prime their mind and really take action towards what they want, and giving them the tools and the skill set that's going to enable them to condition the brain, to condition the mind through certain formulas that is going to create mental rehearsal, and that's going to prime them and allow them to move forward to the future they want. And that's a combination of visualization, understanding that there's an element of the mind that doesn't know the difference between what's real and not, the understanding that we can create neural pathways that synchronizes and we feel it and we normalize it internally. It becomes not just wishful thinking, it becomes a possibility. There's a mind mapping that happens. There's priming without, this fantasy, but actually taking the actions and locking in that identity. And then you start to have those small, consistent action. And that's what I want. This is who I am now. Not, I want that and then I'll feel it. No, this is who you become now. And when you are that person that is seeking that goal, that achievement, that thing that you want to show up in your life, that you want to manifest, but operating from the now moment as that future self, it changes everything. Your energy, your actions, your consistency. And that's where massive leaps really start to happen. That's where things start to move in the right direction. And I'm a big, big fan of the science of priming. Big fan of it because it's, like I said, it's changed my life with goals that I've wanted to achieve, both personal and in business, but also in the factor of understanding the science of how that actually creates a whole neural network in the brain where you map it out and you become the identity. You feel into that identity and you move with that consciously. So you become a conscious creator. You're not an unconscious patterns that's just going all over left, right, and center. You become more conscious in your patterns and you're designing that goal, you're designing that outcome, and you're designing the actions that follow. So you start to take that action because it's all about taking action, right? Nothing just comes to you. You have to take action. But when you get your conscious and unconscious mind in alignment and you know how to prime, then it becomes so much more easier, so much more effortless to achieve the goals. And it's really all about becoming aligned enough to allow for more to come into your life. And for me, that's really my mission. My mission in what I do at New Mind, in the practices I do with my private practice, with everyone I work with, groups and individuals, it's always about being able to provide and empower others to achieve their dreams, their goals, whatever they want, and break free from the limitations of the mind and the habits and behaviors that's limiting them. So that's why updating your internal world, updating and regulate what you feel, and you align with what you want, all of that becomes a natural effort for results that will follow in your life. And that's my message to you. My message to you from today's podcast is to go back to what I shared. I know I mentioned a lot and I spoke a lot, but I really wanted to give you guys some key factors and key pillars and key domains that's truly going to make the difference if you're serious about wanting to create change in your life. If you're serious about wanting to, up-level your timeline, whatever that is, relationship, financial, health, whatever it is that you want. And we are all designed to create more, to experience more, to elevate more. It's not a negative thing to want more. In fact, it's your birthright. But if you have the understanding of how it works and the tools and the knowledge and the ability to work on yourself and to develop yourself towards that identity, that's truly the only way that you achieve, and you achieve it effortlessly instead of forcing the outcome and instead of stressing about it and instead of beating yourself up because you didn't achieve it this year and you set yourself to go and you're a failure. And then, these other negative thought patterns that start to show up, which is part of self-sabotage, by the way. So understanding the fundamentals, and I hope today has been one of those podcasts that can literally give you a sense of understanding of what needs to be done to achieve that. Now, guys, with that said, I have some really exciting updates that I'll be sharing with you guys in the coming weeks that we are going to really, really exciting. Let me just keep that as there. And as in, I have some exciting news to share with you guys that's going to empower those who are seeking this changes that I'm speaking about, but doing it in a very effective and efficient way that's going to make things even more powerful for you to have an amazing 2026. So again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Every single one of you that's listening to this, yes, I'm speaking to you without an exception, those that from all the parts of the world, and I know you know what I'm speaking about, especially the guys out in the US. I found out that I have a lot of listeners out in the US, which is so beautiful. Some of you guys might be traders or non-traders or wherever you guys are from, I just want to say thank you so much again for being here, for supporting the channel. Please subscribe, please follow, please comment, please share if this resonated with you or helped you in any shape or form. Much love and positive energy.